Well, look who we found walking around Radio Row as today is a ball knower's day. Who knows more ball than Greg Cosell? Greg, the big news for the Eagles,
right.
Jeff Stoutland moving on to what we don't know yet.
Right.
How significant do you think this is for the Eagles moving forward?
Well, maybe I'm in the minority, but sometimes I think change is good. I mean, I think they made change, clearly at with the offense, with who they brought in. They brought in a lot of young minds that have come from different places, different approaches and philosophies than the Eagles have had. I think that remains to be seen. I mean, it's easy to say it's bad because obviously over the years they've had really good run games and Stout's a good O-line coach. But, how do you think the Eagles season ended this year?
Poorly.
So is sometimes change good when that happens?
Sure, I think that's fair. And I also think it's important, as you say, to separate, as we talked on the show today, separate Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach,
right,
from Jeff Stoutland, the run game coordinator.
I mean, for any number of reasons, we probably won't get into them all right now, but the run game was not very good this year. There's always 10 reasons for that, so it's not a matter of blaming one person, but it was not a very good run game, whereas the year before it was a historic run game. But clearly, this is a team and an organization that believes it can play in a Super Bowl every year, and when you get a home game at the Link in January, you don't expect to lose to a team with inferior talent that has a ton of injuries. So, they felt changes were in order, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I think that's fair. Now, as we think about what this offense is going to look like,
right.
It was an interesting search in that it didn't feel like there was necessarily a particular scheme that they were wedded to adding. If you think about interviewing Jim Bob Cooter or Matt Nagy, guys who are not necessarily of the Shanahan tree, and yet they do end up hiring someone who's going to be like that. Do you feel like in today's NFL it is a prerequisite to run that offense to have success?
I think there's a lot of ways you can play offense. I don't think only one or two offenses are the way you have to play. Okay. And I think that most offenses now have many elements from multiple offensive philosophies. I don't think there's any, I would bet that if Kyle Shanahan was giving a clinic, he would be talking about multiple concepts, not just the things that we think of what Kyle Shanahan does.
Sure.
Or Sean McVay constantly is expanding what he does and thinking of new things. So I think it's good to get young people in who are going to challenge. I think Jalen Hurts is at the point in his career where you want to challenge him. You want a coach to come in, and I don't know Sean Mannion at all.
Yeah.
I don't know Josh Grizzard at all. But I think you basically want to come in with the attitude of, hey, Jalen, we're going to make you better than you've ever been. We're going to take you to heights that you've never been. Some days are going to be tough. You may not like me. Some days are going to be great. But when all's said and done, you're going to be better than you've ever been. And I think it's good to challenge players, no matter how good they are. I think that's this is the NFL. Nothing remains the same. Nothing is static. So I don't think it's a bad move at all.
And so making Jalen Hurts the best version that he's ever been, what are one or two things that you think would be added to the best version of Jalen Hurts' game?
Well, I think the pass game has to be expanded. And I think you as a coach, this is just my opinion, of course I'm not a coach, but I think you have to understand his limitations, but you can't let them define how you play. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Because you've got to get past that. Like you can't be an offensive coordinator with the Eagles and say, well, historically, Jalen has not thrown a lot of balls between the numbers, so therefore we're never going to throw the ball between the numbers. I don't think you can say that. I think you got to come in and you got to say, here's what we're going to do, and you know what? We're going to make you really good at this by how we go about teaching it, how we go about implementing it, how we go about calling it in games. We're not going to go into a game saying, well, he can't do that, so that's not in our game plan or playbook. I think you got to expand it, and you got to challenge him.
And of course, there's there are changes on the margins, right? There's a huge
right.
You don't have to be dead last in throwing between the numbers. You also don't have to be first.
No, of course not.
As long as he gets to 20th or something like that, that's a significant change.
Well, the point is it has to be part of your offense. It can't be not part of your offense.
All right, last thing I want to ask you about is just the Nick Sirianni experience. As now it seems like this offensive staff is not of his upbringing and his friends necessarily.
That's okay.
How do you feel about him as the CEO coach, as they say?
Yeah, and that's okay. Look, we're in Philadelphia. We know how things are. I think you'd have to say Sirianni's record's pretty good as a head coach. And for some reason, people think he doesn't do anything. You'd have to be in the building every day to know what he does and what he doesn't do. I'm not in the building every day. I can't comment on that. What we can comment on is the fact that the Eagles have been in 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls, and they've won 1 and came very close to winning another, and his record is really good. So, I mean, to me, you know, because it's very hard to win in this league on any Sunday, and it's certainly hard to get to a Super Bowl. So I would say that Nick Sirianni, as the Eagles head coach, has actually done pretty well.
All right, well, there you have it. Greg Cosell. Check out his videos with Fran Duffy on PhiladelphiaEagles.com from like 10 years ago. And we'll be back with more on PHLY Eagles.